this question as best as I can. But okay, so if all relationships are sort of predicated on this balance between no conflict and conflict that destructs, then if we were to look at this at a more macro level, we see this sort of manifest in history in our world, like with conflict in between countries, in between systems, ideology, etc. But wouldn't this sort of navigation between the exact line of no conflict versus conflict, how does that not imply that some people are inherently doomed to chaos?
It might imply that. You know, one of the things, so look, so sometimes you don't have an answer that works. You have an answer that produces the highest probability of success. And like, I could view the archetypal world from a religious perspective and say that there's such a thing as ultimate and final redemption. That's a metaphysical claim. I don't want to do that. I think it's independent of what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that there's an archetypal path that's laid out in the mythology of the hero, and it's your best bet. That's all. It's your best bet. It doesn't mean that if you apply it, that everything is going to turn out the way you might want it to turn out. But I would say this, there's a way there's an interesting twist on that too. This is one of the things that I came to understand about trying to speak the truth, is that you can make an assumption, you can make a fundamental assumption based on your ignorance, let's say, and the ineradicable quality of your ignorance, that you can't compute the best possible outcome. What you can do instead is make a decision, and one decision is, well, I'm going to say what I think and see what happens. And then you can define that as the best possible outcome. Now you might say, well, now and then that's going to lead you into chaos. It's like, yeah, it is. It is. It's a strange inversion. But regardless of all that, I would still say human beings are finite and limited and mortal, you know, and death is final, let's say. I'm not saying that, but we could easily say that. Doesn't matter. This is still the best pathway forward. It isn't certainty. There's no certainty. And it's very frequently in life you have poison A or poison B. Like, you get to pick your poison. You don't get to pick the elixir of life. But I would also say I don't think there's any reason to be particularly pessimistic, because we don't know what would happen if people really tried hard to get their acts together. Like, if they understood the necessity of that and really put it forward. I mean, I've had lots of experience with my clinical clients now. You know, I've seen dozens and dozens of people, and we have tried jointly to get their lives straighter, and it works almost inevitably. Now, that doesn't mean I've had clients who died. You know, we were 3/4 through a wonderful process of psychological renovation, and they got cancer and died. So there's no certainty associated with this, but it's the best solution available, and it's also possible that it's a good enough solution. You know, I was talking to my class yesterday about this. You know, so if you pursue the things in your life that are meaningful, once you've oriented yourself, and that means accepting the challenges that come along with that, because one of the things that you'll find, you even find this in music, if you know a piece of music completely, then you tend not to want to listen to it anymore. There still has to be some challenge in it. You still have to track it, and sometimes music is so complex you just can't. It just sounds like noise. Modern music is often like that because it's so, well, it tends towards the chaotic, and so I find it difficult to listen to because I can't get a handle on it. But then, you know, so it's too challenging. And then there's other music. Pop music is often like this. It's catchy the first 2 times you hear it, and then you never want to hear it again. It's too much. There's too much predictability and not enough chaos. And hopefully you find a piece of music that's somewhere in the middle. You can listen to it 50 or 100 times, and each time you listen to it, there's still some new nuance in it that you didn't expect before. And so, well, you kind of want to set up your life like that, so that, and I think you see that the phenomena of meaning manifests itself at the area, at the locale of optimal challenge. So one of the things, for example, I might say, well, let's say you want to set some goals for yourself. We say, well, they're remarkable goals, but they're too unattainable. you're just going to find it frustrating to pursue them. It's going to be too punishing. And then we might say, well, here's a goal, and you think, well, I could do that, you know, standing on my head. There's no challenge in it. Well, both of those two extremes are going to leave you in a state that isn't characterized by the optimization of engagement and meaning. One is too difficult, it's too punishing, it's the judge and nothing else, and the other is the ultimate and merciful mothers. It's like you win no matter how you play. So then you calibrate it. You say, well, you know, I'm up for a challenge at this level. I wouldn't recommend that, because that's just a bit like people do that. You might want to investigate your character in detail and decide, you know, what's going on at this level of analysis. That's pretty harsh, but you can certainly continually retool yourself at more micro levels, and I think what you do is you pick the level of retooling that optimizes your willingness to be engaged in it. And then what's so interesting about that is that, I think, is that you get the benefits of perfection, so to speak, while still being imperfect. Your actual imperfection has nothing to do with it. What's relevant is the journey that you're undertaking to rectify the imperfection. So instead of aiming to be the entity without flaws, you're aiming to be the entity that continues to realize its flaws and overcome them. Well, that's a game you can play forever. And that's maybe the ultimate in being an unflawed entity. It's something like that. So I want to show you some pictures that I think are associated with that.